Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Chapter 31, Day 3 of Becoming King. Marco softened. It is not hunger that makes him subdued. Although he was really hungry, he hadn't had a drop of water for more than 2 days, which made him a little weaker. But that's not the point. What he really can't bear is desolation. Facing this lifeless alien space without even an ant, he couldn't stand it. When Luo Zi appeared in front of him again, Marco took a deep breath and said, "I'll give you the number, but please be aware. Dad is not a man who would be threatened like this. You don't need to worry, Whitebeard will definitely give the money obediently." Luo Zi smiled mysteriously. Facing this smile, Marco felt a chill, but there was no point in continuing to entangle with the other party. So, he informed the Beijuan internal contact number. Having got what he wanted, Luo Zi put a large bowl of fried rice in front of Marco. "Are you hungry? You're welcome, you'll see your respected father soon." Deep in the sea area of New World, off the coast of a tropical island, the Moby Dick of the Whitebeard pirates is docked at the deep water dock. "Dad, it's been 3 or 4 days, and Marco has completely lost contact." "That's right, the lifeguard didn't respond at all. If it wasn't still intact, I would suspect him to be dead." However, Marco's lifeguard didn't point to his location, and was in a completely static state. "What's going on?" On the coast, the captains of each team gathered around the bonfire. Whitebeard gurgled his drink and listened to the conversation of his sons. He also had some doubts in his heart, but he won't show it. As the captain, if he can't sit like Mount Tai, how can he? At this moment, brr, the sound of a phone bug rang. Whitebeard froze for a moment. The captain of the third team, Xiaozi, hurriedly said, "Is it Marco? This guy finally knows where to report." Whitebeard remained calm, took out his phone bug to connect to Nianbo. "Marco." "Unfortunately, no." The unfamiliar voice was male, young in age. Whitebeard frowned. "Who are you?" "I'm Luo Zi. Shishibukai." "That's right." The phone bug imitated the expression and tone vividly. "I tell you some regrettable news. Your Whitebeard Pirates first team captain, Marco of the Phoenix, broke into my territory without permission and was arrested by me." "Got it." As soon as these words came out, the faces of all the captains changed. "Impossible? How can you catch Marco?" Catch it alive. This is not a difficulty with killing. Marco is one of the world's top 5 flyers. If he wants to leave, can anyone stop him? Do you need me to ask Marco to call a few times?" The corner of the phone bug's mouth rose, as if mocking the naivete and ignorance of the pirates. The captains' faces were ugly, and their hearts sank immediately. The attitude of the other party does not seem to be fake. "We are not fools." Whitebeard narrowed his eyes and smiled instead. "Goo la la la, that's really embarrassing. Can you please let him go?" "Okay, but, losing money." The phone bug continued without hesitation. "Marco's head is 1,075 million. I give it to Marine, and I can get this money. You only need to pay 1 billion, and you can redeem the person. Whitebeard, for your sake, wiped 75 million of you." As soon as these words came out, the captains couldn't help but clenched their fists. Too arrogant? This shit Shishibukai don't pay attention to their Whitebeard pirates at all. "Father, let me go." Team 5 captain, Foil Vista said immediately, "I will bring Marco back. Don't act rashly, idiot son. A few words from others will mess up your position." Whitebeard spoke very calmly. He has ruled the sea for so many years, and he has never seen such a storm. Sensible judgment. Approving voice came from the phone bug. "I don't mind if you want to send them one by one. Don't worry, I won't kill people, but it won't be 1 billion by then. These captains are all powerful, and the bounties on their heads are not small." "Goo la la la." Whitebeard first laughed, and then snorted coldly. "Arrogant brat, who do you think I am? Luo Zi is Whitebeard." Boom. A wave of conquerors shook the atmosphere, and the originally calm ocean suddenly set off big waves. The phone bug continued on his own. "The trading location is Farn Island in New World, and the time is before 10 o'clock tonight. Please wait for the good news." After finishing speaking, click, the communication wave was cut off. All the captains looked at each other. Someone whispered, "Farn Island, is that an uninhabited island very close to Kumbelt?" The captain of the 4th Division, Sach, asked with his arms folded, "Father, what should we do?" "It's the kindness of that brat to be able to exchange money for Marco. It's a great guy to be able to capture Marco alive. The previous anger seemed fake. Whitebeard stood up, grabbed the supreme sharp knife Kong Yunki beside him, raised it high and shouted, "Little ones, set sail." Oh. The team members who didn't know what happened at all responded loudly. Whitebeard turned to look at the captain of the fourth team. "You stay." Why, Dad? What if this is Marine's plan?" Sage was stunned. "It's because it might be a trap, so you, and the rest of the even-numbered teams, stay here." Whitebeard grinned and said, "Others, come with me to meet this brat." After 9 o'clock in the evening. New World, Isle of Farn. This is a small island, just in the sea area ruled by Whitebeard, not far away. Within half a day, the Whitebeard pirates arrived here. At this time, Farn Island is offshore. On the deck of the pirate ship, many pirates held binoculars and looked around, staring at the situation on the island. No one at all. It really is a trap, right? Dad, it's been more than 3 hours, do you still have to wait? In a few minutes, it will be 10 o'clock. Whitebeard stood at the bow of the boat, holding Kong Yunki in his hand, staring at Farn Island. There is no need for a lookout glass at all, his knowledge has already covered the whole island. With the ship as the center, within a radius of about 10 kilometers, there is no human breath at all. So, it's not a trap either. But the counterparty did not come either. What is this brat doing? Whitebeard frowned, wondering. Inwardly, could it be to divert the tiger away from the mountain? But there is no information about the large-scale mobilization of Marine. Wait till 10. Whitebeard said to the crowd. Understood. Everyone waited quietly, and the time passed by every minute. As 10 p.m. approached, over the sea area of Farn Island, dark clouds unknowingly spread across the visible range. In the thick clouds, there were thunderous sounds from time to time. "A storm is coming," said a pirate who knew how to sail. "Isn't it obvious?" Companion complained. "The blind see it too." At this time, Jaws put down his pocket watch, and said to Whitebeard, "Dad, it's 10 o'clock, and it really isn't." He couldn't finish his sentence. In this instant, the sky brightened for a moment, as if it were daytime. Then, a golden light beam with a diameter of tens of meters descended from the sky. An ultra-long-range attack that breaks through the clouds, and the target is directed at Farn Island. Everyone's expressions were dull, and even Whitebeard's pupils shrank suddenly. He yelled, "Everyone grab the hull!" While the voice fell, boom. Like divine punishment, the terrifying golden light pierced through Fane Island in an instant, and the huge explosion fireball wiped out everything on the island in an instant. In the next second, huge waves with a height of hundreds of meters swept towards the sky in all directions. Chapter 32. Farn Island was pierced by golden light, and the explosion fireball swallowed everything. Everyone in the Whitebeard pirates looked shocked. It really is a trap. That damned Shishibukai? He wants to wipe us all out in a place like this. Fortunately, we didn't land on the island. The pirates grabbed the hull nearby, looking extremely nervous. Because the big wave is coming? The monstrous huge waves generated by the big explosion were hundreds of meters high, and swept from the direction of Farn Island in the distance. The blow that fell from the sky set off hundreds of millions of tons of sea water, and such a huge amount could destroy a town just by falling. The pirate ship Moby Dick under the feet of the pirates is like a small ant in front of such huge waves. "Hold on!" Whitebeard yelled in a deep voice. He flicked Kong Yunki in his hand and threw it into the sky. Then his fists were clenched and crossed in front of his body. His biceps suddenly doubled, and it was covered with blue veins. Seaquake. The fists hit the sides of the body. With a bang, the atmosphere was like a huge mirror, and countless fine cracks spread like spider webs. The shock it caused tore apart the huge waves that hit them in a blink of an eye. The monstrous waves tore in two, avoided the pirate ship, and headed further away. Kiyoshi wiped off his cold sweat, and said with lingering fear, "What a terrifying power." The entire island was wiped out with one blow. Looking at Farn Island, there is no Farn Island there anymore. In the huge waves after waves, what can be vaguely seen is only the fringe fragments of Farn Island. Most of the area is empty and has been smashed to pieces. Under the protection of Whitebeard, the Moby Dick was safe and sound, just heaving and falling in the waves, swaying like a flatboat. The confusion lasted for more than 10 minutes before it gradually subsided. The pirates on the ship looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, a voice came from the sky. Good evening, all of Whitebeard. Everyone looked up suddenly, with ugly faces. Shishibukai Luozi. Imp who rides a dragon. You still have the guts to show up. You bastard, how dare you plot against us? The pirates were furious, and anyone who was almost taken away by a wave would be so angry that he wanted to kill someone. Whitebeard raised Kong Yunki, and the hilt of the knife hit the deck heavily, stopping the pirates from shouting meaninglessly. Gulala la. Whitebeard grinned, with that kind of power, we won't be unable to lock our ship. Is this some kind of warning? If the attack just now fell directly on the pirate ship, even he would not be able to save everyone, and his life would be in danger. Just to say hello. Luozi sat on Kueilong's back and said with a smile, after all, I came alone to meet the world's strongest man and his strongest pirate team. A meeting ceremony is what it should be. Not the same as Kaido. The Kaido 12 years later is much stronger than the current Kaido, but Whitebeard 10 years later, plagued by illness, is weaker than Whitebeard now. The current Whitebeard is undoubtedly the strongest of the 3 pirate emperors. That's really an exaggerated meeting ceremony. Whitebeard stared at the dragon and the child in the sky. Where is Marco? Where's the money? Luozi asked back. Jaws. Hearing what his father said, Jaws immediately gave his team members a wink. Immediately, 10 pirates took out a suitcase, opened it, and pointed the front at Luozi. Full of money, a box of 100 million. Throw the money over here. Luozi glanced. He would not doubt the authenticity, and Whitebeard would not use counterfeit money to fool people. You let Marco go first, Jaws said dissatisfiedly. Why do you want us to pay first? Afraid of the previous power, the disappearance of Farn Island is vivid in his mind, and his tone has been very restrained. Luozi didn't even bother to talk to each other. He didn't understand the situation. Didn't he understand who took the initiative? Whitebeard waved his hand and said, give it to him. Soon, 10 cash boxes were thrown at Luozi one after another. Kuailong flicked his tail and hooked his claws, grabbing all the boxes in his hands. I gave you the money, where is the person? Whitebeard squinted his eyes and said in a bad tone, is my son okay? It's very good. After I'm full, I will keep arguing. If I don't return it to you, I will get tired of listening. Luozi complained, and the right eye Kamui was activated immediately. In a vortex of time and space, Marco was released. As soon as he appeared, he immediately fell towards the sea. Free. Marco was overjoyed, and immediately his arms turned into wings of a phoenix and flew up. Dad. He immediately flew aboard the Moby Dick. Be careful, his ability. Marco was just about to remind. Whitebeard raised his hand to stop him, and looked at Luozi with a grin. Are you short of money, brat? Luozi, who was about to leave, couldn't help but look back. I don't mind if you give me a few 100 million more, old man. Gulala la. Whitebeard laughed. What was the attack just now? 1 billion. You can earn 1 billion in one sentence, Marco. It seems that you are not worth much. Luozi teased, then turned to Whitebeard and said, guess, see you later. As soon as the words fell, Kuailong flew away in the blink of an eye at a speed of Mach 2. Marco looked blank. Father, what's going on? Really give money? Jaws pointed forward. Do you know what's there? Marco looked along the pointer. There's nothing there. That's Farn Island. It used to be. Jaws said in a low tone. How did you get caught, Marco? With your strength, you will be caught too. Marco was dumbfounded. He immediately explained, that guy's ability is very strange. You must be careful when you meet him in the future. One-on-one with that person will be very difficult. At the same time, Whitebeard silently watched the direction where Luozi disappeared, constantly guessing in his heart, the previous attack was definitely not a human move. The first thought that popped into my mind was the legendary ancient weapon. The kid holds the Uranus in his hand? Gulalala, what purpose does this kind of person become Shishibukai? Captured Marco from the opponent, but chose to ask himself for money instead of handing it over to Marine. Obviously not on the same side as world government. Funny kid. Whitebeard smiled. He didn't care about 1 billion, he cared about his family, so even though Luozi beat him, he wasn't very angry. On the contrary, Marco was safe and sound, and the two sides couldn't even talk about enmity. It's nothing more than one side losing, and one side losing money. Marco. Father. Tell me, what's going on? Chapter 33, Late at Night. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. The Marshal's office was brightly lit. Facing the chaotic era of great pirates in today's world, Sengoku, as the Marshal, seems to have endless work to do. At this time, the marine hero Garp walked in carelessly, holding a pack of senbei snacks in his hand. The communication from Zayahi just now said that a Tianshengin was sunk. What did you say? Sengoku, who was flipping through the materials, suddenly raised his head. Garp, you bastard, I can't finish my work, but you are easy. He handed a stack of discarded intelligence materials to a sheep at the table. The sheep ate the paper with its mouth open. Zayahi is in North Blue, right? Which bastard has the courage to attack the gold transport ship in the sky? Don Quixote family. Garp laughed and said, that guy Zayahi has been chasing this villain for many years, and he never caught the other party's sore feet. Hearing this name, Sengoku's face changed suddenly. This person is special. The Crane Vice Admiral of Naval Headquarters, and the woman Marine he leads, is not idle, and is dedicated to making things difficult for this mafia. That was a direct order from the world government a few years ago. It's just that the other party is very cunning and has never really caught it. Not only that, but about a year ago, during the Op Fruit incident, an undercover agent he personally trained died at the hands of Doflamingo. What's wrong? You don't look well? Have you stayed up too long? Garp sat on the sofa, took out a senbei from the snack bag, and handed it out. Do you want to eat? Eat it yourself, bastard. Sengoku said angrily. Just now the information from the new World Scout ship, the Whitebeard pirates, suddenly changed. It seems that there has been a fierce conflict with someone. A war between the three emperors. Garp was taken aback. I don't know at the moment, neither Kaido nor Big Mom has acted. But it is said that an island has disappeared because of the fighting between the two sides. Sengoku rested his forehead, and said in a tired tone. These pirate emperors have caused too much damage. Shishibukai affairs must be accelerated, and a new balance must be reached as soon as possible. And, the Redheads, this kind of pirate group, it must be resolved as soon as possible. This world does not need a fourth pirate emperor. Puff puff. Suddenly, the phone bug on the table rang. Sengoku was stunned for a moment. This is a phone bug from the superior. The subordinate will use another one to contact him. It's me. 5 elders. After connecting to Nianbo, there was a deep voice. Just now, the Boneman Kingdom of North Blue reported the situation to me. Another gold transport ship from the sky was hijacked, and the whole ship died. Sengoku's expression changed drastically. Gold in the sky, this is the core interest of the world government. As a world government with more than 170 affiliated countries around the world, maintaining such a large institution naturally requires astronomical sums of money. Where does the money come from? Of course, it is the heavenly gold given by the franchise countries. Only after paying the money and becoming a member country will they be protected by Marine. Marine has its own branches all over the world, whether it is the Four Seas, the Grand Line, or the New World. The money consumed every year is also a huge number. This money comes from heavenly gold. The act of looting the gold in the sky is tantamount to declaring war. Do we need to dispatch Admiral? Sengoku said coldly. This kind of bad incident must be eliminated as soon as possible, otherwise someone will imitate it. The guard force of the gold transport ship in the sky is not strong, and it is impossible to send a vice admiral or even admiral to protect it every time. If there are really daring pirates who dare to imitate, maybe it will form a chain reaction. No. 5 elders on the other end of the phone. Worm suppressed his anger and said, Doflamingo made a condition. He wants Shishibuki's location. Sengoku, you have someone contact him as soon as possible. The government has already agreed to this condition. What? Sengoku grimaced. This is an order. After speaking, the thought wave was cut off. 5 elders didn't even bother to explain to him. The matter of national treasure, even among celestial dragons, is still a secret, so there is no need to know too much about the Marine Marshal. 2 days later, Elegia. Music room. Luozi played the guitar and accompanied the little diva. Ah, to become the star of the Pokemon I yearn for. This wish must be fulfilled. After the song was sung, Yuta hurriedly asked, how is it? Luozi glanced at the system, shook his head and said, 81 points. Hey, you haven't made any progress at all. Yuta puffed his cheeks. It's Fine if you raise 1 point, Z's, can't you add 1 point? It's useless to act like a baby, Luozi said helplessly, it's a problem with the development of the vocal cords. You already sing very well. Yuta touched his throat and said in frustration, I really want to grow up quickly. Luozi didn't have such a matter determined by the laws of nature, huh? It seems there is a way. Devil fruit is full of wonders. Just as he was thinking, Gordon knocked on the door and walked in, holding a newspaper in his hand. Your Majesty, this is the newspaper that Newsbird just delivered. Mr. Gordon, please call me Luozi, there is no need to call me King. Luozi took the newspaper and glanced at it. Yuta knelt on the chair, hugged him from behind, hung his head on his shoulder, and read it together. Another. Shishibukai, Heavenly Yaksha Don Quixote Doflamingo. Yuta whispered, who is this man? A sea rogue. Luozi replied softly. Doflamingo also became Shishibukai. This man was originally the celestial dragons, holding a huge secret in his hands. The 5 elders will be picked up by him, and it is not difficult to become Shishibukai. That makes 6 Shishibukai. Still worse than Hawkeye and Bear. Speaking of which, Hawkeye should still be called Marine Hunter instead of World's Greatest Swordsman. Thinking of this, Luozi's heart suddenly moved. Doflamingo needs the location of Shishibukai in order to steal the throne of the Kingdom of Darice Rosa, and he wants to turn that country into a man-made devil fruit factory to trade with Kaido. In the original book, it only happened in 1512. Could it be because of my insertion, so it happened earlier? Well, it doesn't seem right. To make artificial devil fruit requires the power of the scientist Gaisa. Where is Gaisa now? Luozi fell into deep thought. It seemed a bit complicated and needed to be sorted out. What are you thinking? It's nothing. I thought of who the dance teacher should be looking for. Luozi smiled slightly, and a woman popped up in his mind. Her words should be very suitable. Thanks also to Doflamingo. Chapter 34, King of Darice Rosa. Riku Dade 3 had 2 daughters. One is Scarlet. This woman gave up the position of princess, married Cyrus, and gave birth to a daughter named Rebecca. The other is Violet, who should be 17 now. In the original timeline, that is, 2 years later, Doflamingo stole the throne, and Violet was forced to join the Don Quixote family for her father's life. This woman is a dancer, and she is very good at dancing. Try using her first. Thinking of this, Luozi got up and said, it's time for the live broadcast soon. Yuta, you go and get ready. Gordon, go and call Brooke. Okay. After a while, Luozi brought Yuta to the live broadcast room. After several days of accumulation, Yuta's current fans have reached 877. After this live broadcast, it will be able to break through the 1,000 person mark. After Brooke arrived, Luozi turned on the video phone bug. On the big screen, the appearance of Yuta is projected. The other dozens of video phone bugs also immediately sent pictures of fans waiting for the live broadcast. Little Yuta, it really is a live broadcast on time. What song are we going to sing today? I'm looking forward to it. Little Yuta, as cute as ever. The fans in the picture are male and female, adults and children. Yuta turned her gaze to Luozi off screen, and Luozi nodded at her. So, Yuta immediately smiled and said into the microphone, everyone, good morning, good noon, good evening. I am Yuta. I aim to be the world's #1 singer, and I work hard every day. A dozen lucky fans cheered her on. Thank you everyone, because there are a lot of new things to learn every day, and I have to practice songs. My manager is a very strict person, so the daily live broadcast time is only half an hour. Yuta laughed and complained to the fans. Damn manager? Don't bully everyone's little Yuta. Hey, manager, are you here too? Do you have the guts to show your face? Yuta, your singing voice is the most beautiful I've ever heard. If your manager dares to bully you, change your manager. These bastards are trying to spoil my little diva. Luozi's eyelids twitched violently. Yuta glanced at him secretly, and said with a smirk, don't worry, the manager won't bully me, it's just very strict. He is Yuta's best manager? Anyway, for today's live broadcast, first sing a song practicing. Simple live broadcast, simple singing. There are no fancy tips, nor too much fan interaction. In the accompaniment, Yuta sang songs one after another. Luozi only taught Yuta 3 songs, but it doesn't mean that Yuta only knows these few songs. She knows a lot of songs, and as a city of music, there are also a lot of sheet music here, so there will never be a situation where she sings the same song during the half-hour live broadcast. Even during the live broadcast these days, Luozi listened to no less than 30 different songs. But every time, for the 3 songs he teaches, Yuta must sing once. In Yuta's heart, the weight of these 3 songs is different, and she hopes that everyone in the world can hear it. The happy hour is short. Amid the farewell sounds of bye and see you tomorrow from the fans, today's live broadcast came to an end soon. Brooke stood up from the piano chair and praised, "Singing is getting better and better, Yuta. Your dream will definitely come true, and sooner or later you will become the #1 singer in the world." Yuta was a little embarrassed by the praise, and then looked at Luozi with a smile. His big eyes seemed to say, "Praise me too quickly." "Great, Yuta is great." Luozi reluctantly said something perfunctory, turned his head and turned on the system. Diva training task. The number of fans of singer Yuta exceeds 1,000, and the reward is 10% of the sword skills of One Piece Gold Roger during his lifetime. Mission completed. The false memory of practice resurfaced again. This was the 3rd time. This time, Luozi learned another trick of Roger's swordsmanship. God hunting? The name of the move has been changed to haki, from the shinjutsu of gods only dare to avoid their sharp edges to sword skills for hunting gods God shun. Silently digesting the new sword technique, when Luozi opened his eyes, he saw Yuta standing in front of him, staring at him with puffed cheeks. Perfunctory, Ziz is getting more and more perfunctory. Our little singer is #1 in the world. Luozi rubbed Yuta's head amusedly. "Let's go, Gordon should have dinner ready, and you are tired, go take a shower first." Only then did Yuta walk out of the studio contentedly. When they left, he looked at the system again. The mission has been updated. Next time 10,000 followers are required. According to the multiple of this growth, 100 million fans are needed to reach 80%, and 10 billion fans are needed to reach 100%. Are there 10 billion people in this world? If you count the various humanoid races, there must be some. The system will not issue a task that is impossible to complete. In the original movie, Yuta became a world singer in just 2 years, and the number of people who have listened to her songs is far more than 10 billion. Now with his assistance, and more excellent songs, this speed will be even faster. What restricts her now is physiological development. She has talent and potential, but to realize it, she needs to fully develop her vocal cords. It takes about 15 or 16 years old. Luozi thought of a devil fruit, which can solve this problem. 10 years later, a member of the extremely evil generation, Big Stomach Girl Jewelry Bonnie, this woman has the ability to freely change the age of the person she touches. Her name is unknown, but it may be called Neon Fruit. Of course, this age change is not permanent. But it is also a shortcut. The problem is, I can't find where the person is. Luozi has nothing to do for the time being, so he can only take his time and look for it when he has a chance. Compared to this, let's bring back the dancer first, and Rebecca. He has been coveting Conqueror's haki for a long time. Stepping out of the music room, problem girl #2, Kojiki Hiri, came in front of me. Chapter 35, that, Luozi. Kojiki Hiri faltered. What's the matter? After thinking for a while, Luozi greeted, come with me. The two soon came to a study. It may not be right to say that it is a study room. There are more various musical scores on the bookshelves. Luozi walked to the sofa and poured 2 cups of black tea. Seeing Kojiki Hiri still standing at the door, he gestured with his eyes, come in, sit down. Hearing this, Kojiki Hiri stepped forward, walked lightly to the sofa and sat down, picked up the steaming black tea, and took a sip. You came to talk to me about life. Life discussion. Kojiki Hiri tilted his head, and a big question mark appeared above his head. You look distressed. Want to go back to Wanakuni? Kojiki Hiri bit his lower lip and looked down at the black tea in his hand. She has been here for a few days, and she was obviously kidnapped by force, but she has no intention of going back. She knew Yamato, knew the identity of the other party, the daughter of the enemy Kaido, but had a bad relationship with her father Kaido, and became friends with her after learning that she was the daughter of Kojiki Oden. I also met the Runti sisters and brothers, the children of pirates. Their dead father entrusted them to Kaido, and They lived in an environment of survival of the fittest since childhood. She is a little envious of Yuta. Luozi, who is obviously 2 years younger than her, protects her like a big brother. The life here is very monotonous. They attend classes and sing songs every day, like a big lively family. They also chat and play around during the occasional break time. Happier than when I was in the brothel. Recovering from a trance, Kojiki Hiri raised his head and asked softly, I just care a little bit. At that time, why did you kill Kurozumi Orakai? I know about your Kojiki family. In order to let you stay here with peace of mind, I took care of him. Luozi told frankly, with a calm tone, so, do you understand? Understood. Although Kojiki Hiri's brain is not very good, but the meaning of this kind of words can still be understood. Won't let her go. Killed your enemy, even if you want to repay your favor, just stay here honestly. This tough attitude did not make Kojiki Hiri feel uncomfortable, but he was slightly relieved. I will follow your arrangement, and I like it here too. There are not so many worries. A faint smile appeared on Kojiki Hiri's face. It's just, manager, it's okay if I call you that. Up to you? Were you in the brothel just to take me away? Why didn't you do it directly? Luozi was speechless. Could it be that he chatted with that young girl for half an hour in order to see the Warren Grand Prize, and lost interest again? Manager, I can do it. Kojiki Hiri smiled slyly. Even if he is a manager, he is still a boy. Although he is younger than me, he will be interested. She has a clear perception of her own beauty. There are very few women who don't know whether they are pretty or not, and even if they don't, the eyes of the opposite sex around them will tell them clearly. Hearing this, Luozi showed a very surprised expression. The problem girl really has a problem. This came to tempt him? Beast, his body is only 12 years old. Why are you doing this? I want to. Thank you. Thank you for killing Kurozumi Arakai for you. Yes. But it's more than that? After all, Kojiki Hiri is only 14 years old, and now he is holding on to his skirt a little nervously. When I saw Kurozumi Arakai's head cut off, I suddenly felt that everything I did before was like a clown on stage. Broker, you gave me a little light before I fell. Luozi was even more surprised. The self-salvation of a troubled girl? No, redeemed, but half-saved. Now in this girl's mind, she wants to repay her kindness with beauty. Revenge, using beauty, repaying kindness, or relying on one's own beauty. Sure enough, my brain is not very good. Of course, Luozi didn't open his mouth to reject the other party. Although his body is only 12 years old, his mental age is a normal 27 years old. No. Luozi shook his head and said, I'm only 12 years old. I can't do what I want to do. Hearing the word 12 years old, Kojiki Hiri couldn't help laughing. The smile was a bit cramped, but also a bit rare bright. She put down the black tea in her hand, got up, walked around the table, and sat beside Luozi. Broker, knight. Luozi left Elijah on a fast dragon. Sitting on Kuelong's back, he wiped the lipstick on his face. It can only be said that she is worthy of being trained as an Warren, and she can do everything. He is too good at pleasing men. He was a little bit overwhelmed, but fortunately his body was still small, otherwise he would not have been eaten up. Warren, it's really scary. I don't know which old bastard taught her. Anyway, let's buy some maids. First. The most prosperous place for human trading is the Sabayati archipelago. Luozi temporarily put aside Kojiki Hiri's problem, and seriously considered the construction of Elijah. The maid is to take care of daily life. There are nearly 10 people in the castle, big and small, and Gordon can't keep cooking. In addition to maids, farmers, ranch workers, fruit growers, carpenters, stonemasons, tailors, etc. are also needed. The average price of a human slave is 500,000 baileys. For a maid, try to choose a slightly better-looking one. That's millions of baileys. Luozi quickly calculated in his mind. If you buy all the cheapest ones, you can buy 2,000 people. The island does not need so many for the time being. There are about 100 maids, and then 1,000 workers will be bought. Of course, Luozi will not pay. Who is he? 7 warlords of the sea? Qualified for legal plunder? Behind the industry of the slave trade, needless to say, there must be pirates. As a Shishibukai, robbing pirates of money, isn't that justified? Otherwise, what is Shishibukai, Kimbo? As for the 1 billion pele, It was used to pay wages. In the era of great pirates, human life is so cheap. 500,001. Kuai Long, speed up. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Chapter 36. Sabayati Archipelago is located at the end of the Paradise Sea in the first half of the Grand Line. Pirates who come to the Grand Line from all over the world need to rest on this island. Here you can coat the ship. Only in this way can the ship sail on the bottom of the sea and enter the Fishman Island, which is 10,000 meters deep. The entire island is composed of 79 huge Yarchman mangroves. Therefore, it is divided into 79 regions. Areas 1 to 29 are illegal areas, where there are human trafficking shops and human auctions. Luozi needs to buy a large number of slaves, so of course it is not suitable to go to the auction. However, when he arrived at the Sabayati Archipelago, it was already late at night, and both the auction and the human trafficking shop were closed. He had to find a hotel to stay. The next day, early in the morning, Luozi came to the number 1 area. When walking on the street, you can obviously feel malicious eyes, and criminals gather on both sides of the street. Some are pirates, and some are human traffickers for slave groups. This kid is pretty good looking, and some nobles have unique tastes, so they can fetch a good price. Hush! Are you crazy? Do you know who this person is? Could it be the child of some big man? One of the 7 warlords of the sea. Idiot, don't drag us if you want to die. Let you watch the news more often. At the corner of the street, several men with mischievous eyebrows were talking in low voices. Luozi glanced at them, and the 2 of them trembled in fright. They turned and ran. Ignoring these small characters, he found the largest human trafficking shop in Area 1. The boss has a mustache, but it's just an upturned horoscope. When Luozi entered, the boss greeted him immediately. He was taken aback for a moment, and then his expression changed. 7. Shishibukai. A lot of people here know my face. Luozi raised his eyebrows. Hey, where are you from? This is the Sabayati Archipelago with the fastest information flow. The boss laughed twice and said, I don't know what's up with Mr. Shishibukai. Are you the largest slave trader on the island? You want to buy slaves? Then you have found the right person. I have the most complete and highest quality slaves to choose from. The boss suddenly became more enthusiastic. Please come with me. Luozi followed the other party and soon came to a prison. Rows of prisons housed many slaves. There are men and women. Most of them are human beings, but there are also Murlocs, the long-handed tribe, the long-footed tribe, the snake-headed tribe, etc., and there is even a fur tribe. That's all. Luozi stood outside the prison, sweeping past many slaves. The eyes of these slaves are dull. But there are also some eyes full of longing, hoping to be bought. The boss said, What race do you want? It's better to be human. 1,000 people are needed. 1,000 people. The boss said dumbfounded, I'm very sorry, I don't have so many people here. How many men and women are there? For women, there are 117 people. The youngest is 14 years old, and the oldest is 32 years old. Male slaves, excluding those who are too old, there are 283 people. As the 2 walked, they said that the passages of the prison were very long, and there were at least dozens of them. Suddenly, Luozi stopped and looked towards one of the cells. An old man was locked inside, drinking wine contentedly. He seemed to notice Luozi's gaze, and the old man also looked over. Isn't this guy Pluton Rayleigh? He wears a pair of rimless round glasses, has a beard on his chin, curly white hair, and a straight scar over his right eye. The deputy captain of One Piece Gold Roger was once a famous great pirate. Noticing Luozi's gaze, the boss, being a human being, immediately explained, This old man is a weirdo. 2 days ago, he came to me by himself and sold himself. Luozi laughed and said, I want it. I want all the slaves you mentioned before. Hearing this, the boss trembled with excitement. The heart quickly calculated. Honorable Master Shishibukai, if you want all of them, our store is willing to give you the best price. All slaves will be sold at a price of 500,000. 400 people add up to 200 million Baileys. As for this old man, it will be a gift. Would you like how about next? Are you going to buy me? Rayleigh said suddenly. He was obviously an old man, but his spirit was abnormally good. You are Shishibukai, Dragon Rider Luozi. Meeting you, Pluton Rayleigh. Do you know me? Rayleigh was obviously stunned. I have lived on this island for more than 10 years, and this is the first time I have been recognized. Luozi is no stranger to this person. The biggest hobby is drinking, and I usually live in the bar of my old friend Shucky. But Shucky wouldn't give him money for drinks, so besides relying on his coding skills to work, the old man could only sell himself to major slave traders to make money. Speaking of which, this woman Shucky is also the former emperor of the Daughter Kingdom. It can be regarded as the old predecessor of the pirate queen Boya Hancock. The slave trader on the side was stunned when he heard Rayleigh's name, but he didn't react for a while. As an old pirate who was active in the last era, Rayleigh's wanted notices are rare, and he doesn't know him at all. What are you still doing? You haven't released all the slaves. Luozi glanced at the man. That, Mr. Shishibukai, we pay the money first. Look. 200 million berries. Hearing this, Luozi pulled out Ryujinjaka and slashed open the gate of the prison. The boss was dumbfounded immediately, and he quickly understood what the other party was going to do. This is for nothing. Wait a minute. Master Shishibukai. He immediately shouted, the business here is celestial dragons. Then let celestial dragons come and tell me, if you don't want to die now, just do it obediently. Luozi dismissed it. Not to mention celestial dragons, even 5 elders' business, he can also grab it. Hearing this, the boss suddenly turned pale. His lips trembled. Not daring to be disobedient, he bravely called his subordinates and asked them to open all the cells. At the same time, he secretly asked someone to notify the big boss behind him. Celestial dragons? That's bluffing. How did celestial dragons get into this kind of business? Ha ha ha, you little guy is really interesting. In the cell, Rayleigh took a sip of wine, laughed and said, aren't celestial dragons afraid? Those group of world nobles will attract Marine Admiral if they get hurt casually. You looted their business and lost the Shishibukai name. Shishabukai's name. Luozi said calmly, they will beg me to stay. Chapter 37, all the slaves were released, and more than 500 slaves of various races looked at Luozi in front of everyone with the eyes of a savior. Open the slave collars around their necks. Luozi glanced at the earth-colored boss. Shishibukai, Luozi, you will regret it. The boss gritted his teeth. The subordinates all looked at him and whispered, boss. All released. The boss wanted to cry but had no tears. This release would cost at least hundreds of millions of berries, and arresting slaves would also cost money. All the younger brothers did as they said, and took out the keys to unlock the locks for the slaves. The collars tied around their necks are very heavy. If the collars are forced to break free, the internal switch will be triggered, and the detonating device will blow the slave's head directly. Ka. Soon, more than 500 slaves were freed. Free? I'm free. Thank God. Woo. Some people were so excited that they burst into tears. You should thank me. God will not save you. Luozi slandered from the bottom of his heart, and his expression remained the same. It's not human. Go away quickly. Humans stay. In an instant, more than 500 slaves knelt on the ground in unison. Your great kindness, I will never forget it in my life. A murloc thanked Dade and was the first to run. With the first bird, more slaves quickly kowtowed and thanked, and some people kept leaving. In a blink of an eye, more than 100 slaves left. Only humans remain. They looked at Luozi with a slightly fearful look, not knowing why they were left behind. Rayleigh on the side chuckled and said, those slaves ran away. They have no boats and no money. They will soon be arrested by human traffickers. That has nothing to do with me. Luozi is not interested in being so lenient. He is here to find maids and workers, not to be a savior. At this time, he looked at the group of disturbed human slaves, and said in a slightly gentler tone, you have heard what this old man on my side said. My name is Luozi, and I will take you to my country, give you jobs, give you income, where you are not slaves, but my people? Many slaves kneeling on the ground showed excited expressions. Sure enough, human beings still love human beings. With the previous comparison, the remaining human slaves suddenly felt a sense of happiness. At least the Lord did not directly ignore them. Lord Luozi, I am willing. Please take me away. I am willing to do anything. A woman who looked to be in her 20s said eagerly. For a young woman like her, once she becomes a slave, she doesn't know who will buy her, and her end is predictable. Compared to the future of being treated as a toy and being beaten to death someday because the master gets bored, she is willing to follow Luozi. I would too. Please take us away, Master Luozi. Female slaves responded, and more male slaves quickly pledged their allegiance. So many people, how are you going to take them away? Rayleigh drank a small drink and asked with great interest, the commotion here will attract Marines. Marine still cares about the lawless zone. Luozi was taken aback. There is a Marine base on the island, he knows that. Area 60 to 69 not only has the Marine base, but also some government departments. There are some transactions here. The slave trade is a legal business recognized by the world government. These large slave merchants will send gifts to Marines chiefs every month. Rayleigh said with a smile that he has lived here for more than 10 years, and he has sold himself countless times, and he knows the twists and turns here like the back of his hand. The Sabayati archipelago is less than an hour's flight from naval headquarters. All this decay? Luozi said in surprise, then shook his head. No, this is not decay, this is normal. Political contributions, similar to America's, are legal. Since it's legal, don't trust humanity. Listening to the conversation between the two, the slaves kneeling on the ground suddenly showed despair. Shishibukai came to rescue them. Marines still care? Don't worry, the person I want to take away is useless to anyone. Luozi didn't bother to explain, and immediately opened Mangekyo Sherinon. Using the power of Sherinon, all the 400 people were transferred to the Kamui. Spatial capabilities. Rayleigh froze for a moment. Gone. After finishing all this, Luozi turned around and walked out of the store. The boss could only watch helplessly, not daring to stop him. As soon as I arrived at the gate, I found a Marine colonel, leading a large number of sailors, and rushed there quickly. The boss rushed out as if seeing his relatives, and shouted, "That's him? Colonel Nalu? This brat ransacked my shop and forcibly released all the slaves. Where's the slave?" Nalu quickly looked around the store, but he didn't see the slave, but saw Luozi again, and his heart skipped a beat. 7 Shishibukai? The contact he received did not say it was Shishibukai. This bastard store manager is not telling the truth. I let you go, do you have any objections? Luozi stood at the door of the store with a calm tone. No. Nalu showed a reluctant smile. It turned out to be Master Shishibukai Luozi. This is the flood that rushed to the Dragon King Temple. I heard that Shishibukai has come to the island, so I brought someone here to see if you need help. Listen. Said you freed many slaves, need a warship escort. Isn't it convenient? Convenient, so convenient? This is all for justice. Nalu said seriously. It's not necessary. Luozi was too lazy to talk to this person, ignored him, and left directly. Seeing this, the boss thumped and sat on the ground weakly. It's over, even Marine doesn't care. He glared at Nalu angrily. Are you all crazy? This is Sabayati Archipelago, my business is legal. That bastard robbed my slave, don't you care? Watching Luozi go away, Nalu put away his smile, turned to look at the mustache boss, and snorted coldly, I suspect that you have colluded with the pirates. Where did your slaves come from? Maybe some of them are citizens of the allied countries, this is against the law. Arrest him. Just kidding, it's Shishibukai, it's just your bad luck to steal it from you. The Sabayati Archipelago's slave gangs are plentiful, and it doesn't matter if you're missing one. It's a trivial matter to rob a few slaves. But a Shishibukai came to Sabayati Archipelago, this matter still has to be reported to the headquarters. As a colonel, Nalu has an excellent work experience. Bring this man back to base. After giving an order, he turned around and picked up the phone to report the situation to his superiors. Luozi is preparing to leave the island. Rayleigh suddenly appeared in front of him. You Shishibukai have so much power. With one hand in his pocket and the other holding a small wine jug, he said with a smile, Marines dare not touch you? They don't even dare to stop you. He's just a colonel. He doesn't have orders from his superiors. Even if I kill someone in front of him, he won't dare to move. Luozi pulled out Ryujinjaka, raised his eyebrows and said, it's a rare opportunity. I'm worried that I can't find someone to practice swords recently. Come and play with me a few times. Dodge? As soon as the words fell, a silver slash shot towards Rayleigh. Chapter 38. Seeing Luozi's slash, Rayleigh showed a dull expression on his face. This is Roger's move. Before he had time to think about it, his left hand had already been stretched out quickly, directly grabbing the slash that was attacking him. His left hand was wrapped around the weapon collar and turned into pitch black. The moment he grasped the slash, his face became serious. Good weight? It is much stronger than the slashing of ordinary swordsmen. The force of the impact propelled him backwards, his feet dragging a deep gully in the grass. With a full retreat of 30 meters, the armament haki wrapped around Rayleigh's left hand suddenly turned into a mass of higher intensity energy, and a flash of flowing dark red flashed away. The next moment, God's refuge was caught by Rayleigh, and the slash fell into the river not far away. In an instant, the river was cut off, and the river could not rejoin for a long time. It's already 30% of Roger's level. Who the hell are you? Rayleigh was stunned. It was emission just now, Luozi asked without answering. The advanced stage of armed color. It is called emission in Wanakuni. It can also be called by other names. The meaning is the same. The armed color that has been cultivated to this level can not only be released outside, but also directly drive haki into the target, thus multiplying the power of destruction. Rayleigh was silent for a moment, then a flash of light suddenly appeared. In his teens, he knows Captain Roger's swordsmanship and seems to be very proficient. If it weren't for the difference in power, it would be Roger himself using it. As the first crew member of the Roger Pirates, he was too familiar with Roger to be mistaken. I see, you are Roger's child. Rayleigh smiled. Before Roger was executed, Marine had a large-scale hunt for pregnant women. You survived. The eyes are full of kindness, as if looking at his own juniors. Luozi. Should I say it or not? This sudden sentence made him silent. One Piece was executed in 1498, and he is about 12 years old now, so the time is just right. One Piece is called Roger, and his name is Luozi. Roger will dodge. He perfectly reproduced Roger's moves. No, don't talk nonsense. Luozi couldn't help complaining. How could I be Roger's son? His son's name is Podicus d'Ace. Rayleigh didn't know who Podicus d'Ace was, and he was quite confident in his judgment. No wonder he has such strength at such a young age. He is indeed Roger's child. After we conquered the Grand Line, before disbanding the pirates, he kept mentioning that he was going to have a baby next time. Rayleigh said with a smile. I've said no. If you don't believe me, ask Garp. Luozi had the feeling of being a dog, so he didn't hold back immediately, holding the handle of the knife with both hands, raised his head high and swung a blow. God hunting? Armament. Haki's move is added, and the pitch-black slash comes in an instant. Rayleigh threw down the flagon in his hand, wrapped his hands around emission, and resisted a blow. Boom! The black slash was more powerful than the previous move. Wherever it passed, the ground was torn apart like tofu, leaving deep ravines. The ravine came to an abrupt end at Rayleigh's feet. Roger's move defeated the Golden Lion back then. Rayleigh blocked the slash with a little difficulty. After a stalemate for 3 seconds, he quickly moved away. The god hunted past the opponent, unabated, and slashed on the Archiman mangrove tree 100 meters behind him. The incomparably thick torso was torn apart by the sword energy, and a gap hundreds of meters long was created, shaking the whole giant tree. The giant tree was pierced through. Getting old. The old man is not as strong as you young people. Rayleigh picked up the flagon on the ground, and touched the sweat stains on his forehead that didn't exist at all. Pretending. Luozi can't complain. This old man can still fight Kizura 10 years later. His physical strength must be better than him. With a thought, he rushed up suddenly. After getting close to Rayleigh, he stabbed mercilessly with his sword. Rayleigh quickly tilted his head, and while avoiding the blow, he said approvingly, "Your swordsmanship is just like Roger's. Who taught you?" The child was born when Roger died, and Roger certainly didn't teach it. Stop talking nonsense, I said no. Luozi's strikes became sharper, and armament haki wrapped around the blade, dyeing the blade black. Rayleigh didn't fight back at all, just kept dodging, and even had the energy to speak. At least that's how it seems. In fact, he maintained observation haki the whole time, constantly predicting Luozi's attack trajectory. He is most familiar with Roger's swordsmanship, and he can avoid Luozi's attack every time at the most dangerous moment. The two fought for 10 minutes. Luozi suddenly stopped. It's boring, old man, you don't want to fight at all. Ha ha ha, you are already very strong. At this age, your swordsmanship level is already 1/3 of Roger's. In a few years, I will not be your opponent. Rayleigh laughed and said, also, show me a little respect for one, Rayleigh uncle. Mr. Ray. Luozi put Ryujinjaka back into the sheath. If he used all his abilities, released Zanpakuto, and then used Shurinon, he would be able to fight this old man. Swordsmanship alone is not enough, Rayleigh is too familiar with Roger. What kind of move he wants to use, people can see through it at a glance. Let's go. Luozi took out the elf ball, ready to release the fast dragon. I'll say it one last time, I'm not, huh. A golden light descended from the sky. Boom! In the smoke and dust of the explosion, photons condensed, and the figure of Marine Admiral Kizura slowly emerged. It's scary. Is Shishibukai fighting Pluton Rayleigh? Roger's remnants are hiding under the nose of the headquarters. It's really worrying. Kizura's face with a crooked mouth came into Luozi's eyes. Rayleigh's smile faded, and he said in a deep voice, you go first, I'll block him. Hearing this, Kizura was stunned with a dazed look on his face. Did something go wrong? I'm on the side of Shishibukai, right? Chapter 39, It's so strange, why does One Piece's deputy protect Shishibukai? No. Why does this old man want to do something to Shishibukai? Kizura was confused. What do you think? The next thing is that he and Luozi, the Shishibukai, worked together to arrest the remnants of the Roger pirates on the spot. He thought I was Roger's son. Luozi activated the report skill on the spot. It's just that the surname is Luo, the real Roger's son. You have to ask your marine hero, respected Vice Admiral Garp. Kizura was speechless. Compared to this kind of sowing discord, what he cared more about was, isn't Roger's surname Gol? Roger's son is still alive. His mouth was even more crooked, as if he had discovered a new continent. Who knows, maybe alive, maybe dead. Didn't your marine hunt and kill pregnant women back then? Luozi sarcastically said, unless there are traitors inside, they must be dead. Hearing this, Kizura was thoughtful. Rayleigh's eyes flashed. Is this a misfortune? He still thinks that Luozi is Roger's son, although not as sure as before, but swordsmanship cannot fool anyone. However, Garp and Roger are old friends. If Roger asks him, according to Garp's personality, this kind of thing is possible. Rayleigh thought to himself, Luozi said this to hide his identity? He need the title of Shishibukai, what are you planning? Should we cooperate with him? Before Rayleigh could figure it out, Luozi summoned the fast dragon. After riding on the fast dragon, he calmly said, Kizura, what are you doing here? The headquarters has been notified that a Shishibukai has come to Sabayati Archipelago. Kizura temporarily put aside the matter of Roger's son, and said casually, you Shishibukai are really arrogant. The headquarters invited you to gather, and everyone refused very simply. Yo, isn't it normal that Shishibukai listens to the tune but not the announcement? Otherwise, be a damn Shishibukai. So, you're coming to invite me to Marineford yourself. Compared to this, it's better to join hands with me to solve this pirate first. Kizura stared at Rayleigh, fisted and palmed, and pulled out a sword of light directly from his palm, Amazono sword. Sorry, not interested. Luozi patted Kuailong on the head, motioning for it to take off. The figure slowly disappeared into the sky, and a word floated down. I don't have a superior-subordinate relationship with you, Marine. You have no right to order me. Go play by yourself. Kizura. The title of 7 Warlords of the Sea was awarded by the world government, and it is not in the same department as naval headquarters. At most, everyone can be regarded as colleagues of the department next door. Wait a minute, I have something to ask you. Kizura looked at Luozi, who disappeared into the sky, and immediately wanted to catch up. This is impossible, your opponent is me now. Rayleigh laughed, and pulled out a sword out of nowhere, and a sword energy immediately cut towards Kizura. Kizura was cut in two by the slash, and the incision was covered with golden photons. His body slowly came together. Pluton Rayleigh. The two quickly fought. Kamui space. 400 slaves gathered together, apprehensively looking at this dark alien space. Suddenly, Luozi's figure appeared. Master Luozi, what is this place? A courageous young man hurriedly shouted. May I have your name? My name is Emo Kegureza. The sallow and thin young man in his early 20s replied immediately. Luozi nodded, and said to the group of slaves, in a few hours, you will arrive in Elijah. At that time, someone will arrange for you. The house will be allocated for free, and a settling fee will be given. The specific situation will be determined by then. You will naturally know. Now wait quietly. After finishing speaking, he signaled Reza with his eyes, you are very smart, come with me. As soon as the words fell, he left the Kamui space with Reza. On Kuelong's back, two people appeared one after another. Reza was startled immediately, crawled down nervously, grabbed Kuelong's body, looked at the endless ocean below with his eyes, and kept swallowing the saliva in his mouth. Gilo, Master Luozi, what do you want me to do? Snapped. Luozi threw a thick 1,000,000 Baileys to the other party, and said, I will go to the kingdom of Darice Rosa soon, you stay there temporarily. When there is a disturbance in the palace, when will you contact me? I will give you every month you 1,000,000. Stalking? 1,000,000 a month for such a simple task? Reza grabbed the money, nodded resolutely and said, Lord Luozi, please don't worry, I will definitely keep an eye on it all the time. It's just, how much is a disturbance? For example, the palace is on fire? Soldiers from the King Liku's army raised their knives and slashed at civilians. I see. Next, Luozi gave some more detailed instructions. After passing by Darice Rosa, he sent people down to the coast, and then returned to Elijah. Back to Elijah. It was already afternoon. Gordon went out to greet him. Luozi released all the slaves and ordered, arrange them, ask what skills they have, and arrange corresponding jobs according to each person's situation. As for the maids of the castle, choose 50 good-looking ones. Women can do it. Yes, Your Majesty the King. Gordon nodded immediately. As a former king, this kind of thing is easy to do. It's just a trivial matter. Luozi handed over 200,000,000 Baileys to the other party and asked Gordon to pay for the settlement and future wages. For several days, nothing happened. With the injection of fresh blood, Elijah gradually regained her vitality. There are also people working in many places. The newcomers who were already slaves here not only got a house and a job for free, but also got rid of their status as slaves. Most people are very satisfied. In the castle, because more than 50 maids came, life suddenly became more convenient. In his spare time, Gordon will also arrange for people to clean up the debris. Rebuilding Elijah didn't happen overnight, but moving toward the goal a little every day made Gordon full of energy for the future. This day, early in the morning, the king's bedchamber, Luozi woke up from his sleep. He broke free from Kojiki Hiyori's warm embrace. Since the last time this woman almost pushed him against him, she would sneak into his room to sleep at night. For this shameless behavior, Luozi expressed his appreciation. Although the young body can't do much, but hugging a fragrant woman, no, it's quite comfortable for a girl to sleep. The movement of getting up seems to have woken Kojiki Hiyori. She opened her dim eyes, and her voice sounded like a dream. Manager? Is it morning? It's time to get up and go to class. Luozi glanced at her and said with a smile, what's the cover-up? It's not like I haven't seen it. Kojiki Hiyori got up from the bed with a flushed face. At this time, there was a knock on the door. The maid's voice came from outside, Your Majesty, there is a phone bugs Nianbo communication, claiming to be Reza. Hearing this, Luozi's heart moved. Do it so soon? Doflamingo? Chapter 40, Come in. Upon hearing the order, the maid opened the door and walked in. She lowered her head and handed a phone bug to Luozi. It's me, Master Luozi. Opposite was Reza's voice. What's the situation with you? While speaking, Luozi put on his coat and walked out of the bedroom. The maid then raised her head and looked at Kojiki Hiyori with only one head emerging from the bed, feeling very surprised in her heart. Your Majesty is only 12 years old. As expected of Lord Luozi. My lord, I will serve you, she said immediately. King, princess? Kojiki Hiyori was overwhelmed by the call of the princess. Since she fell from the princess position 8 years ago, she has not enjoyed this kind of respect from others for a long time. For the princess, in Wanakuni, it should be similar to the general's wife, right? Hush. Although there was a little joy in his heart, Kojiki Hiyori did not dare to treat himself as a princess. No, please keep this matter a secret. Never talk nonsense. Especially to you to the other side. Luozi left the bedroom and learned the specific situation from Reza. There was a big fire in the palace of the kingdom of Darice Rosa in the middle of the night yesterday. and Reza didn't know until the next morning. After that, he inquired again. In the morning, King Liku suddenly borrowed money from the people of the whole country, and it was a full 10 billion baileys. Reza didn't know the specific inside story, but it should be in line with turmoil, so he immediately reported to Luo Zi. I see, you should ensure your own safety first. Luo Zi cut off the communication, and said in his heart, sure enough, the Dong Quixote family did it, right? But, it was too fast. He thought it would happen in 3 or 4 months, but it happened only 10 or so days later. You know, Doflamingo has been active in North Blue before becoming Shishibukai. To reach de Rice Rosa, you need to cross the inverted mountain from North Blue, enter the Grand Line, and then sail all the way to Sabayati Archipelago, and then apply to the government to hoist the boat up through the Red Port below the Red Line. Then, cross the Holy Land of Marijois, and then drop the boat from the Red Harbor on the other side, so as to enter the New World and arrive at de Rice Rosa. He didn't come to New World through the normal way, did he cross the Calm Belt? Luo Zi made an instant judgment. The normal way is not so fast, and the only way to launch a coup so quickly is to cross the Calm Belt. Use the foreign ship to pass through the windless Calm Belt. As long as you have the means to solve the Sea Kings, you can directly enter the New World and reach de Rice Rosa. Note, thinking of this, Luo Zi immediately prepared to act. De Rice Rosa. This is Luo Zi's third visit here. The first time was to buy a video phone bug for Yuta, the second time was to install Reza as a spy, and this is the third time. On the coast, Luo Zi met Reza. This kid has been eating well recently and has grown a lot stronger. Master Luo Zi, how is the situation now? King Liku is still raising money. The people here love him very much. Although they don't know the reason, they are willing to lend him money. I heard that they have already collected 2 billion berries. According to this speed, maybe they can really borrow money. 10 billion. Reza had an envious expression on his face. 10 billion is an astronomical figure for an individual, and of course it is a huge amount of money for a country. I asked you to investigate, did you find it? A family living in the suburbs has a 4-year-old daughter named Rebecca. Reza nodded and said, I found it. Please follow me. Under Reza's leadership, Luo Zi quickly found a place. In a very remote place, surrounded by mountains full of flowers, on the hillside, there is a lonely house. Yes, thank you for your hard work. Luo Zi nodded in satisfaction, and immediately put Reza in the Kamui space. He walks towards the house. Suddenly, the footsteps stopped. Among the flowers, a toy soldier who was no more than 80 or 90 centimeters tall squatted inside. The soldier has no left leg, is carrying a toy gun, and looks at the wooden house with sad eyes. At this time, the door of the wooden house was opened, and a woman with long wine-red hair, about 23 years old, came out of the house, followed by a cute little girl. Rebecca, you stay in the house and don't go anywhere. Mom is going to buy some food and be back soon. The female voice said softly. Rebecca, who was only 4 years old, was full of doubts in her big eyes. Mom, didn't someone buy it before? Who? The woman showed a confused expression, then smiled and touched her daughter's head. Our mother and daughter have always lived alone. There is no one. Please be obedient, Rebecca. Yes, Mom. After sending her daughter back to the house, the woman closed the door, took a deep breath, turned and walked towards the city. The toy soldier stared blankly, and the toy's little hand clenched tightly. Suddenly, footsteps came from behind. The toy soldier was shocked. Have you chased him to such a place? He suddenly turned around, and when he was about to take up his weapon to attack, he was startled suddenly. It's you, Luo Zi. Luo Zi frowned. You know me. Shut up first. Luo Zi rubbed the center of his brows, feeling that there was a problem with his memory. He was very impressed with this soldier. If he remembered correctly, he should be Cyrus, turned into a toy soldier by a childlike fruit-capable person. This is a memory from a previous life. However, after he traveled through time, he didn't seem to have seen. No, you know me. Luo Zi stared at the toy soldier. It's me, Cyrus. Cyrus hurriedly revealed his identity. In the arena, you sat next to me and Rebecca. Have you forgotten? I remember. As if a bolt of lightning had pierced some kind of restriction, Luo Zi instantly recovered some kind of blocked memory. Cyrus, it's you? Do you remember me? Cyrus was extremely shocked, and then exulted, great. Finally someone still remembers me? Ever since I became like this, everyone has quickly forgotten. Is it caused by the ability of some kind of fruit-capable person? Luozi asked knowingly, and said slowly, how did you become like this? It's Shishibukai. Cyrus gritted his teeth and said, last night, he found the palace was on fire, so he rushed to the palace, and then saw the captured king. In order to save the king, he loses a leg and fights to kill Shishibukai Doflamingo. But a little girl touched him, and he became what he is now. In the end, he rescued the king. But the king didn't know him anymore. Then he saw his wife again, who didn't know him anymore. No one knew him, only one person. Now only you remember me, Cyrus said painfully. Shishibukai is eyeing this country. Luozi said softly, want to help? Just as long as you let your daughter learn to dance, join my dance troupe. It's just that he hasn't had time to say the conditions. Cyrus then interrupted, you are Shishibukai too. Luozi, can I trust you? After a pause, he said in a deep voice, for the sake of this country, I must kill Doflamingo, but I cannot involve innocent people. But the strength of the opponent is incredible, Luozi, Mr. Luozi. He used honorifics. My wife and daughter, please. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.